meet Bruce Beresford. You have some people with you, don't you?
Yes. We have some of the cast here, I'm very proud to say. Girls, come on up. And Sue Milliken is here, I think, the producer and co-writer. Where are you, Sue? And also George Ellis is here, who arranged some of the music, the songs. George, where are you? Come on.
So let's start with just, this project is essentially 30 years in the making, you know?
Well, not actually in the making. We made it fairly quickly.
Yeah.
But it took about 25 years to find the finance, because Sue Milliken and I were trying for a long time and we just didn't do any good. A couple of times it got close, and then Allanah appeared here, who is a dynamic beyond belief.
Rehearsal beforehand. I was wondering about the interaction because there's obviously the store interaction, but then there's all these other stories going on. And I was wondering, kind of for all of you, how cognizant you were of other people's stories, whether it was kind of siloed, like making many shorts, that sort of thing, and what the process was.
Well, we didn't do a lot of rehearsal, did we? We didn't really have the finance to do a lot. But we did, I mean, I spent quite a long time casting. So we had to find, you know, exactly the right person for each role that was always in my head of what they were like.
Yeah.
And then with a very good casting director in Sydney who suggested people like Rachael, who I didn't know, and I think was in America, weren't you?
I think so.
Yes, you were over here. And then I saw I saw some stuff with her. And then Alison, I think, you sent a tape to me. Yes, Alison put some of the film on tape and I saw it and said, that girl's right.
Right.
And then we went ahead like that.
Yeah.
And everyone seemed to have a very good understanding of it all immediately.
Yeah.
So, you know, I didn't have to knock myself out explaining what was going on.
Right.
They were a pretty smart bunch.
Had each of you been cognizant of the book beforehand? Had you heard of it? Had you read it? Did you have a history with it?
I hadn't been actually, but I know I might be in the minority. It's a very popular Australian book.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard about it.
Yeah.
I read it as soon as I got the script in the audition and read it in about a day and a half. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
It's also a musical in Australia as well, which I had heard of.
Really?
Yes, there was Tim Finn, who was in a famous group, wasn't he? What was it called? You all know. Split Ends, yes. Tim Finn wrote the end song for this, and he had, at one point when I thought we were never going to be able to make the film, he got in touch with me. We were old friends, and he said, look, I bought a copy of that novel at an airport, and I think I'd like to make a musical of it. So I was the executor of Madeline St. John's estate, and I said, yes, go ahead. Yeah. And he did a musical, which was pretty good. And then when we started getting the film going, people thought at first I was going to make the musical.
Right.
And I said, no, I don't want to make the musical. I want to make the film with characters and, you know, I just didn't want to do it. Although I liked the musical, but I didn't want to film that. I wanted to film Madeline's novel.
Do you think you would then now go make the musical now that you've accomplished that?
I'm not going to do the musical.
I usually try to stay away from vapid questions like this, but in this movie it just seems so appropriate. Do each of you have a favorite outfit in the film? I gotta know.
Well, they're all black.
Well, I loved my black outfit. That was one of my favourites. And then the one in one of the final scenes where Rudy comes and takes Rachel away, and I've got the beautiful sky blue check. I loved that.
Yeah.
All of the outfits are incredible. The costume designer, Wendy Cork, is one of the most talented costume designers I have ever worked with. She's astonishing. And what's interesting is that this is the first time I've seen the film, but you can watch the progression of the characters through their wardrobe, which is really lovely. For example, my character is quite a romantic and she's kind of stuck in the past in lots of ways. So the silhouettes in the beginning of the film are all very 1950s. And as she kind of goes along and she meets Rudy and she gets exposed to Lisa, her world starts to open up. The silhouettes of the wardrobe start to become more 1960s. And it's something that I loved about seeing the film. You know, all of those outfits they mean more than just the lovely aesthetic of the dress. Which
I think Wendy did a particularly great job with the young girl, Angari Rice, who plays well, she was in fact only 16, but she did that transformation from being, you know, the spectacled, very rather repressed young girl to really a young woman, an attractive young woman. It was done so skillfully.
Yeah, there's such like a character in the story. I wanted to make sure we got that done to you as well. If you had an outfit that you wanted to.
For costume, I was lucky enough to wear that amazing dance costume, which wasn't the most comfortable thing in the world, but gosh, it was beautiful. And they just the detail in it that Wendy Cork and the team, the costume department team, did putting those costumes together. So intricate and beautiful.
I'm going to open it up to the audience in a second, but I want to ask Allanah if there was a major challenge putting this together. I know you had done it very quickly. You'd done it on a low budget, and you're a force of nature, as we know, just putting this night together with us. So, can you tell us a little bit about? Was there a particular production challenge that you feel like stood out in your mind?
Well, recreating Sydney of 1950s,
Yeah.
that was certainly a challenge, and finding the locations and making sure they were authentic. We were very lucky. We had some fantastic locations in the film. We had the printing press, which was the original Sydney Morning Herald printers, kept the print, sort of set up this mini museum and kept it alive, and so that was exciting. We got a tram museum, so locations was recreating the 50s was a challenge. Casting is always...
Those trams aren't there. Yeah, the trams aren't there. They're actually putting in new trams, but they're completely different to the ones you saw in the film.
Yeah, I mean, casting also was really important, that we found the right people, but also having this Slovenian immigrant. You know, I think everyone would agree Julia Ormond did an extraordinary job as Martha. Yeah, and unfortunately Julia was coming, but unfortunately she's had someone pass away close in her family and had to go to England. So she sends her regrets for not being able to be here. This would have also been the first time that she's seen it with an audience, and it's very exciting to see your response to the film. So yeah, it's great to be here. But yeah, that was one of the challenges, casting. But I think we did an excellent. Everyone plays the role so perfectly.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I want to open it up to the audience. Does anybody have any questions? Right here.
Everyone did an amazing job. I'm just curious to know between your favorite scenes.
So the question was, for each of you, what were your favorite scenes?
I actually really liked my fainting scene. It was really fun. I had spoken to somebody about how terrified I was about trying to faint, and they mentioned to me that goats faint a lot. So I spent about 3 hours watching YouTube goats faint, which is lots of fun. But we had a wonderful guy come on and help me, and so yeah, that was fun. I mean, all of it. It's very hard to say one particular scene. It was an absolute blessing to get to work with these guys, and like all of it. It was a wonderful experience, which I think you can tell that we had fun doing it.
That New Year's Eve scene was like a real party. It was fantastic, and we had to learn the Hungarian dance, which was not something I had expected to need to learn in my career, but I learned how to dance Hungarian dance. It was great.
Did you have?
Sorry. My favourite part was with after the dance scene in the dressing room with Rachel's character. Just that vulnerability between two friends and sort of that moment of sending you off a little bit and trusting, and just the nature of a friendship that deep. And it was just a beautiful little scene.
Back there? Yeah. So the question was there any aspect of each of your characters that you particularly felt like you identified with?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny funny, when I got the script, the first thing I thought was it had Bruce's name on it, so I immediately wanted to do it before I read the script. And then I sat down and read it, and all of the parts are so specific and different. But yet it was Faye who kind of jumped out to me, and I guess I just kind of connected to her sort of optimistic spirit in the face of loss, you know, and I love that about this script across the board, actually. You know, it's a very gentle film, but it's full of hidden pain for all of the characters. It's just, they're all so richly drawn, and I liked that. I don't know if I'm an optimist per se, but I liked that part of her spirit, and that was the person that had jumped off the page for me.
I think with Patty, something that we can all relate to was the fact that she was in any relationship, by nature of the word, a relationship was relating. And so that's what she was searching for within her marriage, that communication and that connection between a partner, be married or not. And I think we can all identify with wanting to be heard within relationships and searching for that, and, you know, being one part of two wholes rather than half of a whole, which is what we're led to believe so much, that you have to, you know, being independent.
Yep. I wanted to make sure you're more that.
Well, I mean, I have many relationships like that with friends that I've kept and that I've lost as well. But so that definitely. But there were a few similarities with me and her. But you know, we can both be a bit vivacious and wild at times. But I think she hides her vulnerability more than I do. I think, but I definitely wanted to have that with her in the moments that I could.
Yeah. I
played the part of the conductor, and I'm a conductor, so I could relate.
We have time for a couple more. I'm going to go over here.
First of all, wonderful movie. Sorry for that. Right now, depicting refugees, depicting immigrants in the country, in the United States, obviously, I hope I don't have to say it's a very, very difficult movie at the time for a lot of people. I'm not sure how that compares in Australia, but did the changing international status of refugees have any impact on telling the story of refugees in the 1950s?
So the question was about the current state of depicting refugees, especially the loaded refugee crisis per se in the U.S. And did the current international status have any impact on how you depicted the 1950s?
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to make the film, even when I read the book, was because it dealt, I thought, in a very subtle and humorous way with the sort of cultural clash of migrants coming to Australia. And the issue's got bigger and bigger over the years. I mean, as most of you probably know, there's been a lot of boat people go to Australia, and they put them on offshore islands. And some of them have been there for 3 and 4 years. And there's a lot of debate about what should be done. Should they be allowed to come into Australia? At the moment, under the current government, the answer is no. They're not allowed onto the Australian mainland. They're put onto these islands, which are pretty ghastly. So I felt, you know, I think the film takes a much more benign and sane, benevolent, rational attitude. Australia really is a country made up of migrants.
Right.
Apart from the original Aboriginal populations. So we were all migrants.
So is the U.S.
So is the US, that's right.
We have time for one more right here. So just for the rest of the audience, I'll say that it was a comment about how great it was to see a film where women are celebrating one another and not competing. Could you comment on that a little bit? Or?
Well, one of the things that always attracted me about the book was the good nature of the whole thing. which is really, everybody in it turns out to be extremely nice.
Yeah.
And I thought, even I've made quite a few films about nasty people. I thought it's really great to be able to make a film which is so positive, but in such a sort of understanding and truthful way. I never felt it was anything phony about it.
Right.
And I love the characters, you know. Because we tried to make it look, it's the same in the book, that the Hungarian guy is double-dealing beautiful Faye, but he's not. He turns out to be in love with her and wants to marry her. I thought that was wonderful.
We need to wrap up, but I just wanted to ask you what's next for the film, especially internationally, now that you've had your international premiere.
Well, Sony Pictures have the global distribution on the film, and we've just had an incredible run in Australia. It's up to 12 million at the box office, which is the equivalent to 120 million in the US. So we're very, very excited. The book is a bestseller, the tie-in. It's up to its, I think, 6th edition. And so what happens next is, we don't know exactly yet, but this is the springboard. And just tell everybody how amazing this film is and help us get it out there. So, yeah.
Well, I want to thank you all so much for coming and sharing it with us and being our closing night film. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.